Welcome back to the couch, everybody, and welcome to another NBA episode. We are a full week of games into the NBA. Today, I am here with Max. We are going to be talking about three teams that we are hot on and three teams that we are not on. It's only been a small sample size, Max, but I think we can gather some takeaways from this first week.
Yeah, absolutely. I've watched a ton of basketball. I know you have too. I was in person for two opening nights, which I wanted to start talking about. Like, I was at Banner Night. Shout out Anthony. He listens. He got me some tickets to Banner Night for the Celtics, which was one of the best moments of my entire life. It was amazing watching them play the way they did. It was insane. Jalen Brunson really stood out to me in person, just the way that he plays and his ability to get to the rim was fascinating, the way he moves. And then I was in Charlotte on Sunday or Saturday for the Charlotte and the Heat game, which we'll get into one of those teams that's on our list. We can talk about that later, but I was there for their opening night. That arena is awesome, super cool, super good crowd, weirdly, and just a lot of fun there. But yeah, I've been watching a ton of basketball, and I feel like I'm itching to talk about it, clearly.
Yeah, for sure. Why don't you start us off with your first good team?
This hurts me to say it. It really, really hurts me to say
Oh, I
this.
know who it is.
It really hurts me to say this. They were one of my least favorite teams to watch last year, and now I kind of like watching them. I kind of actually think they're like one of my favorite
What, you
teams to
haven't said the
watch.
team yet?
It's the Los Angeles Lakers. So go ahead, gloat.
No, I mean, I got nothing to say. Staying humble, keep my head down, just put my head to the grindstone, and
Oh,
keep coming up with awesome takes every year. That's what I
oh
do.
my God. All right. So this is one of the reasons why I hated that I had to do this, but you cannot deny that the Lakers are a lot more fun to watch, A, and B are a lot better. They didn't get anyone new, really. The only thing is they got JJ Redick, who clearly is unlocking this team. So for me, the biggest thing has been the role players. They have been completely unlocked. Rui Hachimura has been playing amazing. He's been playing so well. He's averaging 17 and a half points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game. Reeves has been playing really well as well. He's averaging 19.2 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 5.2 assists on 48% shooting from three. They're getting some stuff out of Jackson Hayes, Gabe Vincent, and Dalton Connect, my guy from Tennessee, who it seems like JJ, as a role player in the NBA, is able to connect with the other role players currently on the roster right now. He's able to utilize them correctly. But I think the biggest thing overall is that this is now Anthony Davis's team. It went from being LeBron having the keys and letting him just control the team even when he was bad to being Anthony Davis's team. Anthony Davis is the focal point of this team now. He's averaging 32.8 points per game, 12 rebounds, 3.2 assists, and 1.5 blocks per game. Anthony Davis has been amazing this season, and everything that JJ Redick has done has been to optimize Anthony Davis and this team, and they're getting results. I really like what I'm seeing from the Lakers.
JJ has been unbelievable. You mentioned a bunch of guys. Bronny also giving them a nice
Nope,
little boost.
not that.
Anyways, Anthony Davis, you're right, is the focal point. JJ Redick came in and was obsessed with figuring out how do we get the most out of Anthony Davis, and they're doing it. They are giving him a ton of freedom. They're putting him in literally every action, every play that they run. It's either a DHO for AD or it's a post up or he's the one getting the handoff. He's a screener in a bunch of this stuff. Like he's involved in everything. And what I've found really interesting is how Reeves and AD have been playing together. I actually made a TikTok video talking about that specifically. All of the Reeves and AD actions have been very, very effective for the Lakers. And like you said, mentioning the role players, it just seems like everybody's involved and everybody is confident and aggressive. And I think that when you have a guy like LeBron and a guy who was so ball dominant last year and for the last few years. And then Reddit comes in and is like, you know what? We want to get everybody else involved. Like, even though LeBron is still so capable, maybe what's best for us is actually saving his energy where we can and letting these other guys who are extremely talented, like Reeves, like Rui, get going and run everything through Anthony Davis and play off him. I mean, there's not a whole lot of nitpicks that you could have about them.
Yeah, absolutely not. They're just playing really well right now. They're really well coached. The actions that you're talking about, like obviously, I'm a little annoyed with the JJ Redick, like watching film at the car wash video that got leaked.
I didn't see that. Was he watching film at the car
Well, they
wash?
just like pulled up on him at the car wash. He's watching film, and they're like, "Yeah, he's locked the fuck in." We're like, "All right, dude, you."
He is locked in.
I know, but like, you can have 30 minutes to get your car washed. If you're that locked in, why are you getting your car washed? You know what I'm
You think he
saying?
saw them walking up to him and he like pulled out the film and he was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
well,
I was just
why?
like watching."
Definitely, because like, wouldn't it be more locked in to just have a really dirty car and watch film at home? Is that more locked in? I don't really get. I don't really
Maybe.
get like,
Maybe
oh yeah,
that's what
he
Joe
can have.
Maz is like. Maybe Joe Maz hasn't gotten a car wash in years.
I mean, I you can't see my room right now, but I've been locked the fuck in, and my room is disgusting. So I don't know. I feel like that's a better sign. But whatever. Clearly he's obviously JJ Redick is a great NBA mind and a great basketball mind in general. And the plays that they're running are really intricate, but a lot of them are also very simple. And it just seems like Darwin Ham, like I feel like the team went against him and kind of like had a mutiny against him and stopped playing that hard. But he also was just doing dumb things. Like he was playing a lot of guys that did not need to be played. He was kind of just messing with the team in weird ways. And JJ has basically cut the shit and cut all that crap out and has just gone back to basics and then added off the basics, added some intricate plays that are really good at optimizing AD. So I'm really impressed with them as much as it hurts me to say that. And I really enjoy watching them.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can watch teams and we can be like, "Oh man, the players just didn't make shots tonight." And sometimes that's true, and sometimes as a coach, there's nothing you can do to get your players to just make more shots. But I think what Reddick is doing with these sets that you're talking about is he's putting guys in the right spots, right? And that's what you're supposed to do as a coach. You're running when Dalton connects in the game. You're running a couple sets to get him an open three and get him in rhythm. Good look at three. You're running stuff to get Reeves more involved on the ball. You're running stuff to get D'Angelo Russell open off the ball. You're running stuff to get lobs for Anthony Davis. You're trying to get easy baskets and get guys in spots where they're comfortable and they can use their strengths. I think JJ's done a great job with that.
Also, the
Um,
other thing is, sorry, the other thing is before there was like this unwillingness to pull the plug on LeBron if he didn't have it at one night and you know, put the focal point on someone else. They did that against the Suns. Like LeBron played bad. He had 11 points. And that was a late three that he had to hit to get over 10 points to keep that streak alive. They gave the keys to Rui and Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves, who had 20, 29, and 23 respectively. So it's pretty clear like JJ has the ability and the respect of the team to the point where he can be like, LeBron, you don't have it right now. We're giving it to someone else. And really, you and I don't know how much we've talked about this really together, but I know I was super in on Rui Hachimura coming into the league, and I was really let down with his performance. I thought he was going to be a lot better than what he had been so far. He is fully unlocked right now. He is playing the best basketball of his career by far. I'm really impressed with his rebounding. He had 10 rebounds last game. He's averaging like 8 rebounds now, and just he's hitting his threes. He looks so locked in where at times he would look sort of disinterested and skittish almost. And now he looks like how Buddy Hield looked last night for the Warriors at points.
I think we mentioned all the, fancy sets and the coaching stuff and the nerdy stuff, whatever. But the thing we didn't mention is the effort and the how connected the team looks, and that is showing with offensive rebounding, crashing the boards, getting back on defense, communicating on defense. That when teams are doing that stuff, those little things, which I think you see, like if you watch college basketball, you kind of take those things for granted, right? Getting back on defense, crashing the boards, hustling. But in the NBA, that stuff is not easy to get out of players on an everyday basis. And I'm really, encouraged by what we've seen by the Lakers early on. Now, will that continue for 82 games? I'm not totally sure. But so far, so good.
Okay, what's your first good team?
First good team. I mean, we got to go to RC's. It has, maybe it's become a boring topic. Maybe some people think it's actually a boring television product. Not boring if you're a Celtics fan. I'll tell you that. I have loved watching the Celtics. I don't care how much they're up by. I still enjoy watching them play. Jason Tatum, after a abysmal summer with the Olympics, didn't make a jump shot, 0 for 18 on jumpers in the Olympics, struggled shooting the ball even throughout the Celtics playoff run and championship run. Right now, averaging 28 points on 51% from the field and 42% from three. And not only does the jump shot look completely fixed and smooth to me, but I think he looks reinvigorated and energized and locked in, like you were just talking about. He just I can't explain how excited I am that the jump shot is good and the playmaking looks better. Just everything has been awesome.
Yeah, this is the Tatum MVP season, I think. I think this is the year where he at least is in the final voting for it. So like we with Tatum, and we've on this podcast had real we've talked about this so much. We talked about the hitch in his shot first, but we also really talked about, and Butsy was really big on this, was the fact that he didn't have that like alpha mentality. He always was kind of settling at times, and it seemed like he would get nervous or passive. That's gone now. He is clearly, and I've said this on the last episode, that he clearly believes in himself more because of that championship run and the fact that he's now a champion. I think he believes he doesn't have anything to prove anymore. And you're seeing him have this whole other level of confidence, and he's getting to the rim, but he's also shooting the shit out of the basketball. Watching him live was incredible. His shot is completely fixed. He looks awesome. And this team is just the continuity from this team, the vibes on this team, everything about this team is really good. Peyton Pritchard has been playing awesome. Jaylen Brown is playing up and like playing better. And Jordan Hawk, oh my God, I do this every time. Jordan Walsh, I don't know why I keep calling him Jordan Hawkins. Jordan Walsh, and I literally was practicing it in the car ride down here. Walshy
You were
is
practicing it, and
I was like
screwed it?
Jordan Walsh, Jordan Walsh, Jordan Walsh, Jordan Walsh, and I still called him Jordan Hawkins. Jordan Walsh has been playing, which he didn't last year, and he looks like he can play. Like he plays a little too fast and he needs to slow down a little bit, but he is going to be a guy that can really contribute, like someone who can defend really, really well. His jumper is probably like not that great, but it's getting better. And Missoula's not going to play anyone that has zero ability to shoot. And you see it in guys like Tillman and Pritchard and Cornette and Walsh. They all have, the ability to hit threes. So this team is just really hard to go against, really hard to defend. And I love everything they're doing right now.
Yeah, I got some fun stats for you. I think they did this last year too, but right now they lead the league in 3-point attempts and 3-point percentage,
Yeah,
which
they're on
is just
pace
an
to
absurd advantage.
yeah, they're on
If
pace
you,
to
if you're
break the record.
for what?
Most three
Attempts
points made. Yeah, yeah, most attempts in a season.
or makes probably both. But if you're getting up the most threes and you're the most efficient at it, like that is just such a difference maker compared to the rest of the league. Six guys right now over 39% from three. That is the five starters plus Peyton Pritchard. I haven't looked, but I doubt that there's another team with six guys over 39% from three that are playing significant minutes. Al Horford currently shooting 62.5% from three on four attempts a game, which that's not going to last. But I mean, he's
Yeah.
played absolutely unbelievable. And we talked about all the sets that the Lakers are running. Celtics don't run complex stuff. They drive, they move the ball. They're great in split action. They're great at attacking closeouts. And the thing that they have that most other teams don't have is five shooters on the court at almost all times. They are just when their shots are falling, they're completely unguardable. So are they going to be 82 and 0? No. Are we still going to have nights where the shots don't fall and we get super upset and we start yelling at Joe Maz? Like, yeah, maybe, but they are for right now the overwhelming favorite, and I think they deserve to be.
I'm not gonna yell at Joe Maz ever again. I'm being serious. Like I love him. He's like my favorite coach right now of all my teams. So I love Joe Maz.
You see, he wants the NBA to bring back fighting.
Yeah, it's sick. I
That's the
don't
quote
know
that
when
came
they
out.
ever had fighting being legal because that was never a
No, that's
rule they
true.
had.
He was saying like the other sports, it's not fair that the other sports like in baseball you can like clear the dugout and go out and fight and like they have a bat, like they have weapons out there, but like
Yeah, I
all
saw.
basketball players have is a ball.
Yeah,
Like why can't they fight?
I don't know, man. It's sick logic. It's like the only actual fighting that gets done is in hockey, but they're on skates. So I mean, it's still like insane.
Do
But
baseball players not fight? I thought they did. I
dude,
thought
no.
no.
I mean, there's like a couple times where they've stormed the pitching mound and like there's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
some
yeah.
fist thrown. Like that's pretty cool. Um, NBA players' arms are too long to fight. They like can't
So
throw a correct punch. And we've had a couple
I
of fights.
think
Cat and Embiid got into a big one.
well, Draymond tried to submit Gobert last year.
He did.
He
No, but
almost got him
Cat and Embiid got
TKO.
into like a fist fight, like a legit fist fight. I don't know if you remember
Cat
that.
and Embiid. No, I don't remember that. Was that years ago?
No, it
That's
was
awesome.
like two years ago, something like that.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm not locked in.
my first bad team is the Denver Nuggets. I'm making a video about this or a TikTok about this today. That'll be out later. They should fire their front office. This is they are wasting Nikola Jokic's future and his potential. This should be a team that is contending because they have the best player in the NBA, and they are absolutely not. They just escaped with a win against Toronto and then another escape of a win. I mean, it wasn't as much of an escape against the Nets, but it was very close. And that fourth quarter was where they won the game. This team is horribly built and is just not performing. They are going the complete opposite direction that the rest of the NBA is going. The rest of the NBA is going towards 3-point shooting and depth. They are going against that. They have no depth and they have really bad 3-point shooters. Jamal Murray, he looks very awful. Michael Porter Jr. has not been playing up to standards. And then there's a clear disconnect between Michael Malone and the front office. The front office clearly wants him to play younger guys, which I don't understand that when you're a team that is trying to be good. Why are you trying to put in a bunch of rookies who are going to make mistakes? You get older veterans in that position, or guys that have been in the league a little bit, maybe not quite veterans, but are like intermediate. I don't get playing rookies. Those guys make a ton of mistakes. Those guys aren't playoff ready, and to try and put them in these huge spots, it doesn't make sense. So what they did was they got rid of all their old vets and brought in a bunch of rookies to force Michael Malone to play them, and it's just not working. And it's no fault to Peyton Watson and Julian Strother and Zeke Naji and Christian Brown. Now, none of those guys are rookies, but they're young guys, is what I'm trying to say. And it's no fault to them that they're not playing up to the standards because they shouldn't be in this position. It should be older guys. They got rid of KCP, they got rid of Bruce Brown, and the only old guys they brought in were Dario Saric and Russell Westbrook, who the Suns, the Clippers, and the Lakers could have all told you we're not going to work out and are awful. Westbrook had one of the worst games I've ever seen him play, which is something for Russell Westbrook, who has had a career of awful games. That was abysmal. Now, he played all right last night against the Nets. He had like 22 points, but this team is so bad with Jokic off of the floor. And now you're forcing Jokic to be the main shot taker on this team, which is something he absolutely hates doing. He loves creating for others. And I would argue when you have Jokic as your main shot taker, you're kind of hurting the flow of the offense because he's so good at setting up and creating this flow. And with Jokic now, you have to have him shut off his instincts and stop passing to Russell Westbrook, who's wide open in the corner, because he does it every time because it's the right pass to make. But Russell Westbrook is so fucking bad. You can't do that because he misses everything. This team is a fucking joke, and they should sell the franchise and get rid of Jokic. It's an embarrassment. Seriously, the owners are so cheap and they're unwilling to pay, and it's hard to watch the games for the people in Denver. It's ridiculous. Denver went from one of my all-time favorite teams to just being a joke of a franchise, and it's completely the owner's fault. And I feel bad for the fans, and I feel bad for Jokic.
Wow. I'm not as hot as you are, but I think you made a lot of good points, especially about the young guys in particular. They might not be bad players. Like I don't think Peyton Watson's a bad player. I don't think
I like
Julian Strother's
Strother.
a bad player, but none of them can shoot, not one. So it's a really poorly put together team. I also think the front office was probably relying on MPJ and Jamal Murray to take steps forward. And instead, those two guys have kind of gone backwards. I don't know if you can really blame the front office for that. Like Murray and Jokic was supposed to be a star duo. It is not right now. And Murray hasn't been horrible by any means, but they need him to get back to that, borderline all-star or, how he played in the playoffs, all-star level player and shot maker and closer for them. And they need Michael Porter Jr. to be super efficient from three and be that go-to guy that they can rely on to just bail them out of possessions when things get clogged up. So I agree that they haven't done a good job building this team out. But I do think some of this stuff is just their second and third best player have not played well at all.
Yeah, but you need depth. And this team, there's no outs for them. Their contract creation is impossible to trade with. Believe me, I've spent many hours on the trade machine trying to figure this one out. Nikola Jokic is making 51 million. Jamal Murray's making 36 million. Michael Porter Jr. is making 35. Aaron Gordon's making 22. The next highest paid player is Zeke Nnaji, who's making 8 million. They don't have any of those not mid-level legitimately, like mid-level in terms of making a middle amount of money between 22 and 8 million to create a package worthwhile to match contracts and bring in someone good. And you can't even do like you can't do I mean, you can do a trade that you're going to lose and bring in some bad guys, but I don't know why you would do that. So, like an example, of that would be like Michael Porter Jr. for who's 35 million, or like three guys that, excuse me, that aren't good but are bench depth. But are you really willing to give up Michael Porter Jr. for that? Like they are in a really bad situation here. Their depth and their roster construction is just a failure, and it's the owner's fault. They've never shown a willingness to pay for anything. And you have to feel blessed as a Celtics fan because we're willing to. I mean, we could get bad ownership soon, so I might be eating my words here soon, but our past ownership was really willing to pay over to get a ring and to get a championship, and this ownership for Denver just is unwilling to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, um, the game, like just the teams that they're losing to, or at least not beating convincingly, they need Herculean efforts from Nikola Jokic to beat the Raptors
Yeah,
and the Nets. They beat the Nets in overtime. They got like bailed out on multiple occasions. Like they are just going in the wrong direction. So
what's your next bad team?
my first bad team. Okay, so this team actually won last night, but I'm going with the Warriors. I am extremely concerned for the Warriors and how this team is built. We talked about it preseason. They don't have a second option. Kuminga has not looked like he can be that guy. Wiggins has actually played very well, but I don't know if you want to be relying on Andrew Wiggins to have a comeback player of the year type season. And Steph struggled in the first couple games because the defenses are just like, oh, it's 5-on-1. We're not letting Steph shoot. We're not letting him get a good look, and that's all it is. And Steph, like I mentioned, already has an ankle injury. I mentioned in the preseason. What happens if Steph misses an extended period of time? I know they won without him last night, but if he misses more games, they will struggle because they don't have scoring without him. Buddy Hield has been an unbelievable addition so far. He's shooting 55% from three. I am here to tell you this will not last. Buddy Hield does this on every team that he goes to. He gets there. The fans think he's like their savior. He looks like, prime Klay Thompson. When it gets to, middle to late season, he will not be this effective as a player. I also think Wiggins is just playing out of his mind. I'm not super confident that lasts. And then the last thing is like, I just don't think Kuminga fits in a lot of their lineups. And I think they need him to.
Yeah, Kaminga has been like if you look at that draft class, he's not one of the better top guys from that class, which is unfortunate because he's being treated like he is one, but he's like because he's like holding out for an extra for that contract extension that they didn't get done. And if you see the guys that are in his class, it's not like he doesn't really stand out as being one of the better guys. So I don't know if he's going to get that money that he thinks he's going to get. Um, to me, like you said, this is this is a really weirdly built team, and with Steph out, it's really tough. Like Lindy Waters the third, who is a great story. He's a Native American. He got went undrafted in 2020. He's out of Oklahoma State. He had injuries in college, but played really well. He looks like a literal create a player or my player in 2K. Like he's got the racially ambiguous thing going on. He's got cornrows. He's got sick tattoos, a sick name. He's awesome, and he plays like one too. Like he'll take like a really bad shot, but then he'll like get an offensive rebound and lay it in, stuff like that. He's playing a lot of minutes for them. They're playing like a 12 or 14 man rotation, which is just ridiculous. And Steph has already twisted his ankle pretty badly twice. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not allowing myself to be tricked by the Buddy Hield minutes again, although he played out of his mind last night. Um, I'm still not going to be tricked by him because
No.
I don't believe it yet. And he was a ton of their offense last night. So I don't know. Like they're just in a weird position here. And Steve Kerr is trying to pretend like this is what he wants and like all that. I I know the vibes are high now. We're only a couple of games in. I could see this really taking a turn, especially if Kaminga doesn't take a huge step, which I don't think he will. I'm trying to pull up the draft class here because it was ridiculous. The 2021 draft was insane. So here we go. It was from the top, we had Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Suggs, Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga, Franz Wagner, and then after that it just kind of falls off where it's Davion, Zaire, James Buchanan, Josh Primo, Chris Duarte, Moses Moody, Corey Crispert, Sengun, Trey Murphy, Trey Mann, Kai Jones, Jalen Johnson, Keon Johnson, Isaiah Jackson, Josh Christopher. So a lot of those guys have spent more time in jail or suspended than playing NBA games. But the first nine picks are or first eight picks are really good. And if you're looking at Franz, Giddey, Suggs, Barnes, Mobley, Green, Cunningham, Kuminga, it's Kuminga and Giddey are probably the two that you're lowest on out of that group. And I would take I I'm probably I don't know. I think it's more of a conversation who's better between Giddey and Kuminga.
Yeah, I think Kuminga might be one of these guys that is a really, highly sought after prospect for a lot of reasons. The physicality, obviously, the size, the length, and the scoring upside. And I think he might be one of these guys that got drafted to the wrong team. And I think that maybe he will get moved at some point and we'll see him kind of flourish somewhere else. And I think that maybe it reminds me a little bit of like the Aaron Gordon situation, who was in Orlando for a while and we didn't really know what he was. Obviously, all the athleticism was there, but he never really broke out. And then he got to play with Nikola Jokic, and now he is, a locked in starter and a really important piece of that team and was a really important piece of their championship run. I think Kuminga would be good in a spot like that where he's not, the primary scorer. He's not even the secondary scorer, but he can be a guy who just kind of floats off ball, plays in that dunker spot, and uses that athleticism and his size to, create mismatches at times. I think that's the future that I see for him. I don't see a future where he is a second leading scorer on the Warriors. So that's their main issue is they don't have a second guy, and I don't think they have him on the roster.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and finish off our list.
All right, we are back. It is your turn, Max.
Okay, so I think it's time to talk about another good team. This team was one that I'm kicking myself because I talked about other teams in the East being taking a step and being better than them, and I think I was blinded about this one, and I feel bad for it. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. I forgot to put in the fact that Kenny Atkinson is their new coach, and he coached a bunch of those guys that were in Brooklyn. Like he lost his job over Jared Allen and Karis LeVert because he was playing those guys so much when they were trying to be bad, and they wanted them to play DeAndre Jordan over Jared Allen. Kenny Atkinson is a great NBA coach, and he is getting the most out of these guys in Cleveland. That game against the Knicks was amazing. Just a ton of fun. Darius Garland going off. I love Darius Garland. It was great to see that happen. This team is really deep, but really what stuck out to me, and especially in that Knicks game, was just the high level defense they were playing. Their defensive rotations are fantastic. Now, they could not hit a shot really against the Knicks, other than Garland. He heated up, but they were having a tough time hitting shots, especially in the first half. If they can just hit some of their shots, they're a really, really good team. And I actually am kind of afraid of them because they appear to match up pretty well with the Celtics. Mobley, as well, has been adding this offensive dimension to his game that we were kind of worried about him adding. He's begun to add it, and he looks really, really good. He's already an elite defender, but for him to add offense to his game is going to take him to this other level. And it's starting to feel better with him and Allen on the floor. I'm a little, it's a little weird with Donovan and Darius Garland right now. Like they still haven't really figured out how to both go off at the same time. But Darius Garland had the year from hell last year. He had a broken jaw and injuries that were keeping him out. Like this year, you can tell he said himself that he loves the game again. And I have high hopes for this Cavaliers team. Like I think they're going to be really good. And I think people are kind of sleeping on them.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the Mobley thing. And that team's defense has always been fantastic. Obviously, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are two phenomenal defenders, and Jared Allen's rim protection combined with Evan Mobley being a roamer and a guy who can switch and a guy who can protect the rim. I mean, they've always been great on defense. We knew they were going to be again. What we didn't know was would they ever figure out the offense, and would they figure out can Donovan and Darius Garland play together? But more importantly, would they figure out a way to have enough shot making and scoring overall to compete with teams like the Celtics, like the Knicks, like the Thunder? And so far, I think Kenny Atkinson has unlocked Evan Mobley. Like I really believe that Mobley may have had this talent in him for the past few years, and we just didn't see it because he was being put in the wrong places. He wasn't being instilled with enough confidence. You're seeing him be used as a ball handler a lot more and be able to be aggressive and nasty and use his physicality and his extreme athleticism and length and be able to get to the rim off of the dribble and be able to use screens, be able to get to his turnarounds, his hooks, be able to, get to the foul line. He just looks aggressive and motivated. Like he doesn't look like he wants to defer to Donovan anymore. When he has the ball, he's trying to score. His first thought is, how do I get this ball to the rim so I can dunk on somebody? I think that is the biggest shift from him and the most important thing that's happened for them so far.
Absolutely. What's your next pick?
My next pick is the Atlanta Hawks, who I'm not like super hot on them as like they're gonna make the playoffs or they're gonna go on this crazy run. I think that they did a really good job building this team. I think that this team just makes a lot more sense this year than it did last year, and I want to shout them out and give them some praise. So, obviously, Trae Young is the focal point. He's finally surrounded with good complementary pieces that make sense. So, we'll shout out a couple of those guys. First of all, Dyson Daniels has looked like the ideal fit next to Trae Young, just in terms of play style. Obviously, Dyson isn't the level of player that DeJounte Murray is, but he is the type of guy that you want next to Trae, a guy who's going to work his ass off on defense, a guy who can attack closeouts off the dribble offensively, and a guy who can, pass and get downhill and be that secondary ball handler for them as well. I also think last year for the Pels, he showed us a lot of flashes, Dyson did. But this year he's got a much bigger role. He's averaging 13 points a game this year. He was at 6 points a game last year. So I think you're going to see the offense expand with him a lot more as he gets more and more minutes, which obviously he will this year. We expected a lot from Jalen Johnson this year. Through 5 games, I don't want to overreact, but it hasn't been great. I do think he will play better throughout the season. So, but just something to keep an eye on. Okongwu has looked great. I maybe didn't watch the Hawks enough last year. Okongwu has really surprised me with how impactful he's been. Risa Shea, the first pick in this draft, hasn't shot the ball well, but I think he's done a lot of good things. I don't think he looks scared. I don't think he looks passive. He makes good decisions. He takes the right shots. So Bogdanovich is still battling an injury, but he'll be back eventually. I think Trae is going to play better. I think Jalen Johnson's going to play better. And I just think this team fits really well together. And when they make shots, they're going to be hard to beat on a lot of these nights.
I think 2 years ago when I started this podcast, if I was to hear myself on this episode now, I would be shocked. But I like Trae Young. I really like Trae Young. I love the way he's playing right now. He is passing the shit out of the ball. He's always been a good passer, but to me, I got frustrated with the shot chucking. Now it feels way better. Like now it's in rhythm. Now he's getting his teammates more involved. He really is taking this step that I was really hoping he would take because always wanted to like Trae Young. I just never did because he was such a black hole with the ball. But now he's getting people. He's facilitating, which is what you want to do. This team brings an identity of defense, and it starts with Jalen Johnson and Okongwu and Dyson Daniels, who you mentioned. I love this team. I've watched the shit out of them. When I was in Charlotte this weekend, I was really upset because League Pass was blacked out in that area, and I could not watch Atlanta and Charlotte because they were blacked out in the region. It was really driving me nuts. I love watching this Atlanta team. They're so much fun. Every single guy is like a 6'8" wing who can shoot the ball and create for themselves, even down to Vic Krejci. Like every single person on this team is someone that can do that. And I love the cohesiveness of this team. And I mean, we've always talked about their head coach being awesome and Quinn Snyder. We've talked about him a lot on this podcast. And it seems like last year they just needed to take a year to really get used to each other. And clearly DeJounte Murray was not really working out. It was kind of redundant with Trae, and they kind of, just didn't really fit correctly. But I 100% agree. Dyson Daniels makes a ton more sense for this team. And I'm really happy with how they're going. I don't think they're gonna be insane, but I think they're gonna I think I could see them making a playoff run at least. So
Yeah, I mean, we have their over at 36.5 wins, for example. I believe that will hit. I'm confident in that.
all right, good stuff. Okay. My second bad team. I saw this team in person, the Miami Heat, and about halfway through quarter 3. Now, granted, I was drinking, but I was in the nosebleeds, but I was like, oh my God, Bam Adebayo's been playing this whole time. I totally forgot. I didn't even see him. Like he really just did not stick out at all on the floor. This was the Jimmy Butler redemption year for whatever reason, and um, that's not happening. He's shooting 16% from the 3-pointer right now. He also was another one. Like the second half, he ramped it up, but at the first half, I was like, wow, Jimmy Butler's on this team too. Kind of forgot about him. Um, this team is really strange. Like their four best players, Hero, Rozier, Adebayo, and Butler, all need touches, and it feels like one one is always going to be left aside so the other one can get touches. They kind of haven't all figured out how to cohesively play. They still aren't shooting the ball well. They still just aren't scoring enough points. I know they're coming off of a couple wins here in a row, but that Pistons game was close, and it really came down to the end there. And I I thought Khalil Ware was actually going to play and contribute for them, but he has not really played. He only played like a couple minutes the other like 6 minutes I think against the Pistons. Um right now they ranked 29th out of 30th in points per game. They ranked 22nd in rebounds per game and in field goal percentage. And then they're middle of the pack in the amount of threes they shoot and make. They're like 18th in both. Um again, they don't shoot threes and they don't really make threes when they do shoot them. So I don't like Jimmy Butler, we were expecting him to go off. I think that was one of my takes too, because like this is a contract year for him. It's not really happening, and maybe it's because he's 35 years old. So I don't know, but this team to me, I know that it's weird to say that coming off of a win, and they might win against the Knicks tonight because they kind of match up well against the Knicks, but I'm not liking them right now.
I think it's really telling that Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier are both taking significantly more shots than Jimmy Butler. Um, Rozier's at 14.3, Hero's at 15 in terms of attempts, and Jimmy Butler's at 11.3. If your best player, your supposed superstar or all-star is taking 11 shots and averaging 17 points a game, then that guy is either not a superstar or I mean, I don't know, then you're not using him right or he's not being aggressive enough. There's something going on with Jimmy Butler. Because he has to be a lot better for them to win. I think this team, yes, Rozier and Hero are good scorers, but you need Jimmy Butler to be your superstar and your go-to guy. And if he's not going to be that, then I just don't see the ceiling for this team.
How much? What percent do you think Bam is shooting from three? I forgot to talk about this.
Um, 15.
Zero. He hasn't made a three. He's 0 for 2, 0 for 2, 0 for 2. He does
Yeah,
not. And last year he shot 35%, which for him is insane. That's the best year because the year before he shot 8%, then zero, then 25, then 14, then 20, then zero. Then he's a career 20.1% 3-point shooter. We thought he was going to add this dimension to his game, and he's just not. He's coming out. He's averaging 11 points per game this season. Like Bam Adebayo is supposed to be a big time player and supposed to be this big offensive player for you, and he's just not that. And he's not hitting his threes, not hitting his shots. It's early, but man, this Heat team, like if I know it's early, I know it's only 3 games in, and you got Rozier in late last year, so you're still trying to work him in. But this team just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't really make sense. I don't really get what they're doing.
I think I don't know. Butler just can't be aggressive on like random, regular season games. I don't know why. Like when it gets to the playoffs, he just becomes a different player. But they need him to be that player all the time because they don't have the talent to just coast and the league is too deep now. You can't just coast through the regular season anymore and be a high seed and sneak into the playoffs. So I do think that Eric Spoelstra is probably the best coach in the NBA. And I think, the stuff you mentioned with Bam, the shot's just not falling. I think that'll come back and even out, and I think Bam will have a good year. I'm more concerned about Jimmy and the aggressiveness and just the overall fall off, I guess, if you want to call it, of Jimmy Butler from superstar status to whatever he is now, which I definitely don't think is a superstar.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, against the Hornets, he had 17 shots, which is a lot. He made 6 of them, and he was going up against like Diabate a lot, like more than a lot. And that I like Diabate. He's not a guy that you should be like, oh, we got Diabate, circle him. He's coming up on the stand. Like you should circle him and be like, yeah, I'm gonna have 49 points tonight. But he literally did nothing. And then Butler is just doing nothing either. Like seeing them in person, they're the most boring team to watch in the NBA. And um, I don't know why I'm doing this because now they're going to come back and haunt the Celtics, but I just don't like the Heat.
Yeah, they're gonna roll Tatum's ankle somehow.
Yeah,
Their stupid Miami Heat magic. Okay. My next bad team is the Milwaukee Bucks. Um, they're 25th in defensive rating. That basically tells you the story. They can't guard anybody. They're struggling to play against the Bulls, and I think there's a very clear reason why. The Bulls are number one in pace. They play like they're chickens with their heads cut off, running around. When they get a rebound, it's a fast break instantly. And the Bucks are this old and slow and other than Giannis, unathletic team that just can't keep up with teams that play with pace and with teams that have good guards like Kobe White, who can just score on guys like Damian Lillard and Gary Trent Jr. So big time concern for the Bucks. I don't know if I like think a whole lot less of them than I did in the preseason. Um, but it kind of seems like a repeat of last year.
absolutely. I thought, well, I think, do you know the average age of their team?
Oh man, I don't know, but it's got to be high.
Yeah, it's 57. That's too high. That's too high in the NBA. 57 years old. You should be getting near retirement at that age. Like Torian Prince should not be playing 40 minutes a game or 33, whatever he's playing for you guys or for the Bucks. And they're like, well, it's we're missing Middleton. Middleton hasn't been good in a season and a half. He hasn't been good. He's been injured. He's
He
been
also
hurt.
can't stay healthy, so you can't rely on
Yeah,
him.
he's 35 years old. I like Bill Simmons and other people have talked about this where it's like because you see Tom Brady and LeBron James being insane till they're 40, they think everyone can do it now. That's not the case. Chris Middleton is having a regular season for a 34 or 35-year-old wing. This is what happens. They fall off a cliff, they deteriorate, and especially someone who came into the league a little bit older and has injury history, like he's going to fall apart, and that's what's happening. So to put all your eggs in the Chris Middleton basket is not a good one. Brooke Lopez, very old. He's just old. He's not playing the way he used to be. I'm sorry. Like you got rid of the wrong guy. It felt like you should have moved Middleton, but instead they pulled the trigger and moved off their head coach and moved Drew Holiday after their loss, and they should have moved Chris Middleton or figured something else out. Instead, they went and they drafted the youngest player in the NBA draft this year in AJ Johnson for no reason. He's not going to touch the floor. I This team just doesn't make
Got a
sense. Like
promising upside.
he's got a promising upside, but like what when you're as good as the Wizards again, like you go back to the 2008 Bucks because Giannis leaves and everyone leaves. Like I don't know what we're doing here. It's the same thing. It's like Denver and Milwaukee are just fist fighting over, oh no, I'm more badly built. No, I'm more badly built. Like they really want they should just trade Giannis for Jokic at this point. And just trade problems because I mean it's the same shit. It's literally the same team. They're just poorly built. They're going the opposite way of the trends of the NBA. And I don't know how we got here or why we got here, but we're here, and I don't see how it gets much better than this.
So I don't know how many contenders you think they are. Um, are Denver and Milwaukee completely off your contender list?
Um, so I'll say this: Denver more so than Milwaukee. Like I think Denver,
I
I,
agree with that.
Denver is so Jokic. I think is the best player in the league in my opinion. But that supporting cast is really deeply flawed. Like even if Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray get really really good, I still got some worries about them because the West is so difficult. Um, I have
They
some
can't
worries about what they can do, and
still
they
like
yeah they still I mean like if Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. get are insane, like maybe we can have this conversation. But Milwaukee still has a lot of like solid players that can come back and they have some depth, and I can see how they turn this around. Plus, the East is a little bit easier, so they can make a little bit of a run. But yeah, I think it's close. I would still say like Milwaukee's still in it for me, and obviously Denver's probably still in it for me too. But I do think Denver's closer to being out of it.
let's list the contenders that we think so far. I would say Boston, and I would
Would you?
I'll, yeah, I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and put Boston in the contender tier. I will keep the New York Knicks in the contender tier. I just think they need time to figure it out, but the talent on that roster, I'll keep them in. I think it's fair to move the Cavs into that tier. And then in the East, like I think Milwaukee is probably still in there when you just think of ceiling with the offense and what you could get out of Dame and Giannis. And yeah, maybe Middleton comes back and is healthy. So I'll keep them there. Denver, like out west, I think OKC, Dallas, Phoenix, Minnesota, the Lakers are all better than Denver, like without a doubt, probably. So I don't think Denver's a contender.
Wait,
But
sorry. My list is Thunder, Suns, uh, Mavericks, Timberwolves, uh, Thunder, Sun, Mavericks, Timberwolves. I
Lakers.
don't. Yeah, I guess the Lakers are in there. They could be in there. Yeah. My issue is with the Grizzlies. They're
Yeah,
I
I
like
don't think the Grizzlies you could put them in there yet. Maybe
yeah
maybe
yeah.
in the season.
What about the Magic?
I thought about the Magic. I still don't think they have enough offense, but they
Yeah,
are
it's a little
damn fun.
early, but
Yeah,
damn. Yeah. So, anyways, like I agree. Like the Bucks are getting close, and the Nuggets are like right on the brink of not being contenders right now. So at this point, they're not. I'll say that.
no,
Um, okay, a team I like. I'm gonna keep this one quick. I just like the Clippers. I like watching. I like the experience of
I
watching them.
can't believe that. I can't believe you like the Clippers, dude.
I just like the experience of watching them in their home arena, and then also I forgot that they have Jeff Van Gundy, who's like one of my favorite basketball minds. He coaches with them, and I think you can kind of see the effects of that. Like this team knows what they are. They're just gonna have James Harden do James Harden and just have the highest usage rate, but like they have a bunch of other guys around them that are kind of interesting and they're winning games and they're doing it in a fun fashion. I'm not going to sit here and I know I put them as like a good team. I just want to talk about them because they're very interesting to me and I like the addition of Kai Jones. I'm happy he's getting his shit together and he's playing really well and he could actually be like really important. Zubac is playing like insane, which he kind of always does, and they're just getting back to like what they needed to do here, which is just kind of build around Harden and see what he can do. And I'm it's like my guilty pleasure team. I enjoy watching them.
Yeah, I'm just shocked that you. I feel like you're such a Harden hater, but you like watching the team that James Harden has the ball the entire time. Kai Jones is like a bat out of hell whenever he's on the floor.
Yeah.
He's diving for every loose ball, even if it's not a loose ball. Someone will just be dribbling and he'll like dive to try and steal it. He's jumping over guys to get offensive rebounds. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. They've definitely exceeded a lot of people's expectations.
Yeah.
Um, all right, my last good team is the Grizzlies. I think this is the most fun big man rotation in the league. You got Triple J, Santi Aldama, Zach Edey, Brandon Clark, and my guy Jay Huff. I cannot get enough of all of those players. Obviously, Triple J, like we know, is the stud, but Edey, I know he hasn't been amazing. He's so fun to watch. He's gigantic, and I just want him to score on people. I just do because I want him to be so good. Brandon Clark, it's just good to see him back healthy. I love Santi Aldama. He's been a very good player for them so far. Really nice touch, nice finishes, and really skilled at that size. And then, I mean, Jay Huff just came out of nowhere and got himself a contract. I can't believe, like, looking at that guy, I can't believe he's as good as he is.
He didn't come out of nowhere. He was like a G League MVP and Defensive Player of the Year last year. He was in
Yeah.
the I think he was with the
When I said out of nowhere, I meant out of the G League.
got it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like I knew Jay Huff before any of you guys. I did not. But I've looking back at his story, like a lot of people have kind of saw that he was going to be a rotational player. I don't think they saw anything like this. He's so much fun to watch. I'm going to push back on saying watching Zach Edey is fun.
Well, I'm just
I hate
rooting.
watching fouls. Oh yeah, I'm just not because of what he did to Tennessee and the fact that his first couple games he got like 15 fouls and in the entire NCAA tournament he got like 10 fouls called on him and Tennessee just let's just say I think Tennessee could have won that fucking game, but the officials did not know how to officiate Zach Edey. So to see him come to the league and struggle and be in foul trouble makes a lot of sense to me because they just didn't know how to officiate him in the tournament. And I'm just biased, obviously, but yeah, I don't love watching him. I hate watching foul shots, whatever team they're on. But yeah, Memphis is interesting. I love the little what's his name? I forget his name. The Japanese point guard who's like 5'8" for Memphis.
Oh,
Is it Yuki?
something. Yeah.
Hold on. His name is Yuki Kawamura. he's like fully on the team now. Him and Jaw have this amazing relationship. It's so fun to
He is
watch.
all of 5'7".
Yeah, he is very tiny, but he passes the shit out of the ball. He can play. It's very fun to watch. Yeah, this Memphis team is really good, and really fun. I know they're 2-2, but I have a feeling that just is because they've been injured and haven't had a lot of time to play together. I expect them to play into each other. So I'm liking this one here. My final bad team is the Houston Rockets. There's something going on in Houston. Houston, we got a problem. See what I did there, Jordan?
I see
Um,
it.
thank you. They just have too many guys. Like that's kind of really what it is. They need to condense out. They're trying to do way too many things. They have veterans, but then they have a bunch of young guys that they're trying to develop. But then they have those like intermediate young guys that are taking that next step, but need more time to just play. And they're all trying to do that at once. Um, their offense just gets ridiculously stagnant. And I think it's because it's hard to develop pace and rhythm when there's a constant substitution going because it's just hard. Like you're back on the bench and you can't really get into your rhythm. It feels like they need to make this Jalen Green or Sengun choice because neither of them play well together, but they play well separately. And usually, like going into the season, I was like, yeah, I think you stick with Sengun. But Jalen Green's been playing insane and playing like really well, and Sengun has been playing well as well also, but not as good as Jalen Green. Um, to me, it's like you either package Sengun and Brooks or with someone, or Jalen Green and Brooks with someone. Like I think a package like that, just kind of getting a little bit, just condensing. I don't know, getting a couple, sending off a couple of assets to get one really good player is a something they should do, and I think.
Yeah, I am in on the idea that they should move on from Şengün, and I know that a lot of people aren't Jalen Green believers. I happen to be a believer in his talent. Obviously, the shot selection isn't perfect. The decision making
Not
isn't.
ideal.
That's an understatement. But I think he is better than Şengün. I really do. And to me, like when I watch them sometimes, I just want Amen Thompson on the floor at all times, or
Yes,
at least in
yes.
the moments that matter. And I think in that Shangoon spot, and then you have Jabari be your small ball five. I do think that that's the best lineup for them, and I think they showed that even last year at the end of the year when Shangoon was out, and they played really well for that month-long stretch. And allowing Jalen Green to feel like he has freedom is important. Now he does need a lot more structure and a lot more help with decision making and unselfishness and things like that. But having Şengün on the court, I don't think is good for him or his development. So I'm with you. Like they have real lineup problems. We kind of thought that it was a good problem to have, I think, before the season. It seems now like it might not be such a good problem because there are guys on the bench that are like, I should be in
Well, like
and we're
Tari
on.
Eason should be in, and Reed Shepard
Yeah.
should be playing more. Like there's guys that, like Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Reed Shepard, Amen Thompson, Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and I'm missing guys. Like that's a lot of guys, and I'm missing guys that are young.
Yeah. No, totally agree.
So,
All right.
what was you had one more, right? I think it was the Pacers.
Yep, I got one more. The Pacers, I'm not super worried about them long term. I mean, Max took a lot of my teams that I wanted to have for this. The Pacers were kind of my de facto, like I'm worried about them. I'm not worried about the Pacers. I am concerned with Halliburton's struggles so far. He is at, let me see, 14 points a game on 34% shooting from the field and 26 and a half from three. And he just looks frustrated every night. He doesn't look like himself, hasn't been able to find a rhythm. I don't know what got into him. If it, I'm struggling with like, was his awesome stretch the aberration or is this stretch the aberration? I don't know. That's why I'm concerned.
I'm with you there. That like because he's almost been like awesome as long as he's been not awesome, if that makes sense. Right
Yeah.
now, it's kind of weird. Um, the Pacers aren't living up to their name. They're not playing with pace. They're 22nd in pace in the league right now. They're playing a lot slower. They're taking a lot less three pointers and making a lot less three pointers. Um, they look out of whack, and it feels like they're trying to play back into rhythm here. They have a big game against the Celtics tonight, and I'm kind of worried about that game because the Celtics take a ton of threes, so they can run off the fast break. If the Celtics aren't hitting their shots, maybe they get back in place in pace and they start playing with a better rhythm. But I'm with you there. Like there's it's worth keeping an eye on because you see the Magic taking a leap, you see Cleveland taking a leap here. You would expect Indiana, a team that pushed to the Eastern Conference Finals, to really take a leap, and they haven't yet. So I hope they figure that out because they didn't really make any additions other than Johnny Furphy and James Wiseman, who I think is out for the season, who just tore his Achilles. So um, I'm not sure. I think it's worth monitoring. I think it's not a bad pick by any means.
Yeah, it's really just about Tyrese. Like, is he, people had him in like top 10 players in the league conversations. In like,
Mhm.
is he the best point guard or is he, a top three point guard behind Luca and Steph or whatever? Um, and right now it's more like, can he even be like a super impactful player? Is he even an all-star level player right now? You know what I mean? So I think he'll bounce back to some degree. It's just, will he get back to that absolute unbelievable stretch that he had where he was, leading the league in assists and also scoring like 27 or 28 a night? I'm not sure if I quite see that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that has been our good and bad teams coming out of, or no, sorry, our hot and our not hot teams
There it
coming
is.
out of the first 4 games of the NBA season. Been an amazing week of basketball. We've had so much fun watching. I wanted to shout you out, Jordan. You have been going absolutely bonkers on the TikTok here. So check out Jordan's TikTok, the Couch JD. Check out my TikTok. I'm going to start posting again, the Couch Max. You can find those in the link in the description, I believe. You can definitely find Jordan's in the link in the description. Give him a follow. Give us both a follow. Watch our content, like and share, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about us. But yeah, thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week talking more NBA, and peace.